So since we are speaking about the consumers, I want to know that why the benchmark for the consumer to get a good product from a developer is so low.
You're out to buy a car, you're sure that you can't fail with this brand.
Yeah.
Then would you prefer that brand? Or you would look at a car which is fancy looking and beautifully designed, but a chance that somewhere on the line the airbags would not open. If that guy would have really made it big in life, from a 2000 square feet house, he would go to a 3000, 4000
Yeah.
penthouse for that matter. But he will be all set in that area.
Hi Rajiv, thank you so much for giving your time and coming to the podcast. It really means a lot. The reason why we started this podcast in the first place is for any entrepreneur who's completed his education right now and has fire in his belly to start something of his own, to follow his passion. And with the help of entrepreneurs like you, we can guide them and motivate them to take the first steps or take the initial steps. So that was our why of doing the podcast. Now we want to know that what is your why of going into real estate, and why don't you walk us through your journey?
Okay, so hi Vivek. It's nice to share a part of my journey with young folks like you. Uh, uh, why is an interesting question. Among the various options available, I think real estate for me was the most stimulating and challenging verticals to choose. Uh, uh, Along the way, when you do a real estate project, you come across real tough situations, difficulties, and each day is a new beginning. And end of the day, you feel that you have done something, you have achieved something when you overcome those difficulties and challenges. So this is typically not the case when you do other businesses, uh, which in my earlier years I was exposed to. So I thought this is the best thing to be in, and I think that has paid off very well for me.
So since we are speaking about the consumers, I want to know that why the benchmark for the consumer to get a good product from a developer is so low. I mean, like I've heard people saying that उसने building बना दिया, वही बहुत है. Why is it like that? That home, which is very close to everybody, which is I will say the biggest investment a man or a woman would make in his life, but why the level of expectation in the mind of consumer is so low when it comes to a developer giving him other product?
So historically, if you look at the real estate industry, uh, you know, I don't think developers were really serious or matured. Uh, People would start projects without any sense of fund flows, working capital, uh, uh, and project finances. Uh, they would they would take this business for granted, and the typical approach was that building तोड़ेंगे और भूमि पूजन करेंगे तो बुकिंग का पैसा आ जाएगा और बिल्डिंग उसमें खड़ी कर देंगे. This is no more the concept, right? So there is so much of regulatory in place, and buyers have also bought their heads. Uh, it is not that people put in their hard-earned money into buying a house. Because houses have become so expensive that uh, there is more than that. So people have to put their entire life savings. Along with that, they have to take home loans when you buy a house.
Yeah.
So this is huge money over here, and builders' mindset always used to be कि 3 project की ताकत है तो 10 project ले लेते हैं. Okay. Right? So that their ambition costed buyers, correct? Through this whole journey, which was always a very bitter experience. Luckily, that has changed a lot. In my opinion, there is a 180-degree change in that. And I think we are in for good times.
Okay.
And I think we owe a lot to the regulators also in this, because the framework is becoming tighter by the day.
Oh. So do you think that with the introduction of RERA, coming into place, there's been a change in the industry and there's been more regulatory aspects taken into account before building or planning for a project?
Oh, certainly. So RERA is one thing. Along the way, people, when you do a project, there were times when there was nothing like a title certificate, due diligence. All of that has come into play. People used to go to NBFCs, and NBFCs were also looking for simply for ROIs without doing any proper due diligence. And so a lot of these things have come to play. I think, but of course, RERA is the large contributor on this.
So builders actors की तरह क्यों घूमते हैं? Why do they have bodyguards with them? Like whenever you see them in public, they are surrounded by bodyguards. They have the white Fortuner going with them. Why is it? Is it necessary for them, or do they have to do this to create that aura for the public?
So 2-3 things come into my mind. Even my most of my career I was spent in the IT industry, where multi-billionaires, and even today, probably 4 out of the 5 richest men in the world move around in a very casual way. They go into malls, they do biking and stuff like that, and across the world, this word bouncer is almost unheard of, right? So over here, when I see builders, they are always surrounded by, not always, some of them are surrounded by these guys in the black safaris, and those guys don't come cheap. There's 40,000-50,000 rupees a month. So I also wonder, but there are reasons actually. On a serious note, one is that yes, it's their aura. They think they still live 25 years back in time, so they feel that this adds to their personality. Two, see, when you have borrowings, you have to worry, right?
Yeah.
Koi aake tumko thappad na maar de.
Yeah.
So that's another reason they need to have this protection. And sometimes when you do notorious things, there is also a fear of somebody coming and punching you, somebody probably wanting to square it off. So all these things play on their minds, and probably the fear and the insecurity make them live the life that they live.
But fear, because I've seen builders, I don't think they have such thing called fear, because the way they walk, the way they talk, because it's like they don't care about, like you've bought a product from them, but they do not care about building or giving you a good or a reasonable product. So is that the reason that there's negative perception being created about the builders?
So times have changed. What was 70-30 is now 30-70. So what I mean to say is probably 20 years back, 70 to 80% of the people, of the builders, were fearless. There was no accountability. There was no sense of client satisfaction. All of that has changed. So the good builders, and now the 30% which was then, so far as the good ones are concerned, has now become 70. So developers have actually become very sensitive. They look at quality, execution, high standards. Some part of it is also thanks to the wrong portrayal which is being done about developers. You look at the builders and developers of today, they have evolved, and I think somewhere on the line, some good things also need to be said about them.
So since we were talking about the change which has come in the industry, where the builders are becoming more, builders are kind of matching the level of satisfaction of the consumer. So I want to ask you what makes a good product in this industry?
That's a good question again. A good product, in my opinion, is one which is good design, a very good design, right, within the limitations, because see, most of us work in the city, and in the city, major part of the real estate development is around redevelopment, right? So there are not too many green shoot projects because there isn't any land available. So most of the projects that you look around are redevelopment. Redevelopment is on plots which are between 500 to 2000, 3000 square meters. So in that sense, they are small formats. Now, there is a lot of compliance that you need to make in terms of open space and safety and traffic and fire and all of that. So to design a product within a limited footprint is not very easy.
Okay.
So I think design comes
first. Okay.
Is the most important element. How much of air, ventilation, importance to be given to the views that you can extrapolate when the project is completed, right? So if the grander view of the project is let's say southwest, and if your project is north or east oriented, then you are killing the project in that sense. So super focus has to be given on that. Timely execution. Right? Because
that's the main criteria.
And most important part in a project. And third is consistent focus on quality, because finally the building is coming up on the materials that is used. So a lot of importance at all times to be given to everything that goes into the making of the building.
So to sum up, first comes the design, second comes timely execution, and third comes the quality.
So these are the three parameters. I wouldn't say it's 1, 2, and 3, because I would give 1/3 importance, and these are to each one of them. And these are all three, when they are in your radar, there is 100% success assured on the project.
Okay. Since we were talking about the good product, I have an alternative, and I want you to help me understand from your perspective. So first, there's a plot which is well designed, much liking to my needs, much fulfilling to all of the needs which I have and my family's. But builder mein thoda gadbad hai. And second, the plot is good, but not meeting 100% to my expectations. Like we can say 80 to 90% of my expectation. But the developer is A quality, means we can trust him very much. So which product should I buy?
I think most important is the developer, the builder's credibility, because I don't think you should take any risk. Like any other, I would give you an example of a similar situation. If you were out to buy a car, and you are sure that you can't fail with this brand, then would you prefer that brand, or you would look at a car which is fancy looking and beautifully designed, but a chance that somewhere on the line the airbags would not open.
Oh, okay. Yes,
that's the point I'm trying to make. Be 100% sure about the developer, about who is the core team that the developer is working with. So when you talk of core team, there is a structural design, structural engineer. So what we in the real estate language called as a RCC designer, the architects, the licensing team, all of these guys are actually the people who come into play, but they are a bit on the background. So clients are not informed about it, but which is the core team which is working along with the developer is extremely important. P is always look at how leveraged the developer is. So
Leverage. Sorry, I didn't understand.
so a leverage is is a guy who has a lot of debts, so
Okay.
who has a lot of borrowings, and this is actually the recipe of a disaster.
Okay.
So especially in the current times, you need to do your homework well on this. The location may be as great as it can be. It can be, the best waterfront property in town, but you need to you need to be assured that in 36 months you are going to get the keys of that property, right?
Yeah.
When you're paying your money. So if it's the best waterfront, water touch property, but for a decade, if you're not going to get your possession, then it is business for you to put your money in that.
So now $1 million question: should you buy a house or should you rent it?
Well, it's not just my belief, but I think the whole world agrees to one thing, that your primary house should be your own house.
Okay.
So there's no question. If you think that you are living a very dynamic life and you are in this city in 2024, in 27 you may be in another city in India, in 30 you may be in another city in another continent.
Yeah.
Then I think that it's your call.
Yeah.
But regardless of everything, I think everybody should have a primary house of his own.
Yeah.
You'll always need it in that sense.
Here I tend to disagree with you to some extent, because like what we as the Gen Z or the millennials, what we think is, since the residential rate is 2%, residential yield rate is 2%. So instead of me buying a house which is, let's say, for 1 crore, that same house if I can get for 2 lakhs, why not I should rent it and not buy it?
So I have many friends. Some of my friends, some of our buyers are also they come from your generation, and people. This is a point to discuss actually, and it's a discussion point. But end of the day, regardless of the discussions that we have with people of your generation, the same guys come forward with a check and they book the houses. Because deep down, there is a sense of security. Everybody should own a house. That is how it is. I don't know. 50 years from now, possibly there may be a change. There may be a shift in the mindsets. But we also come across young guys who are already living overseas, and they feel that 3, 5, 7 years down the line they will come back to India or to Mumbai. I work only in Mumbai, so if they have to come back, then they should have a pad of their own. Okay. And I think everybody thinks that is necessity number one, to own their own pad.
So what I can make out is, if somebody wants to settle down, then he should have a property of his own, a home, let's say. But from the investment perspective, should you actually go and buy the properties, or should you put in REITs?
REITs is if it's currently the dynamics are such that buying a house and renting it, leasing it out, and getting 2% ROI, as you said, I don't think it's net 2% anymore because of the property taxes and the maintenance. But even if it was 2%, it makes any sense. So to be fair, I think it's not a good idea to put money buying a residential premises with the idea that you will make an earning out of it. I think the entire concept is to buy it for your own security, for your family's security, and there's no question everybody should have a primary house.
So one thing we've not talked about is, how did you got your first projects? How did you handle the clients? How did you manage with the people working, and so on and so forth?
Okay. So the first project was we had we had a property in Mumbai, and I was very young then, but I was fortunate. My father was doing it up, and it was for him also his very first project. So there were various speed breakers. As a family, we are not, you know, generation to generation into this industry. So I was very young then, and I saw him how he brought it up. Fortunately, I was tagging along with him
Okay.
every day wherever he was going, and I was observing things, and that was my first exposure
Okay.
to this.
So did
And
you make the building?
yeah, so we did it in good time. It turned out to be a beautiful product. Even today, that project is among the better ones in that area in juice scheme. But that was the biggest learning curve for me,
Okay.
because when you do a project, you come across so many different people, right? So you, as I mentioned, you architect and the structural engineers and the contractors and the plumbers and the electricians and uh, hundreds of people, uh, uh, because all these guys have their own project managers, their site managers, site supervisors, labor, technicians. So it's a different world altogether, and you interact with that. Somewhere on the line, you keep learning, and that's how the journey is.
So, like you said, that you had a lot of learning during that process. So, if you could name me 2 or 3 learnings which you had, like, because it was your first project, I'm pretty sure you learned a lot. So, if you could give us what were the things which you learned in that?
So, every day there has to be, you start the day with a milestone for the day.
Okay.
That's the
Mindset.
key. That's the key, right? That if there is a sleepage by a day
Okay.
can result into a sleepage by a week, and a week into a month, and it can snowball and snowball and snowball, right?
Yeah.
So this actually holds true to all businesses, all industries, everywhere. But it's very basic. Unfortunately, in spite of it being basic, it's something that people don't give a lot of importance to.
Okay.
So you need to keep milestone. You need to keep your bar charts. You got to monitor it. You've got to take tough decisions. Got to eliminate the wrong guys out of your team, wrong contractors, wrong supervisors. You've got to encourage the right guys. Got to motivate them. They also have their own bad days. So
Yeah.
at that times you've got to be with them.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting in its own way. But the most important thing is, being on schedule.
Okay. Being on schedule.
Slippages can be the biggest disaster in a project.
Okay. So, like you said, that you spot the wrong guys and you take them out. So, how do you spot the wrong guys? How do you find out that he's not up to the mark?
Uh, uh, a this just comes out of experience. When you have somebody on board, and he does not match your expectations in terms of integrity, in terms of seriousness on the job. That's the only way. So when you work with him, you get a sense of the situation, and at that time you don't need to be very liberal. Okay. So
Yeah.
He's got to be as serious as you are. He's got to be as focused as you are. Otherwise, he's not a part of your team.
So recently I was watching a real estate podcast where a CEO of a real estate company had come, and he was speaking how technology has enhanced their way of working and how technology has reduced their turnaround time in the industry, like you said, the sleepage time. So what do you think is the exposure of technology in the industry, and if it is to that much level, why aren't developers using it as much?
So I think there are two sides to this. One is you can adapt technology because of the information that is available, right? So, simple case in point is if you have time, you should seriously watch the making of, let's say, Burj Khalifa. Is there on YouTube.
Okay.
And this information was never available maybe 10 years back.
Okay.
Correct. So now, because of the information available on so many different medias, you get to learn a lot.
Okay.
So these are actually extreme situations, right? You create the world's tallest tower in the middle of a desert, where there are extremely challenging conditions.
Yeah. Okay.
How does concrete travel to that height in that heat?
Oh,
is what I mean to.
Yeah.
In New York, Times Square,
Yeah.
they created a super tall structure on a plot which was as small as 2,000 meters. And it is one of the iconic creations of New York. Now, this is also what is known as extreme engineering.
Yeah.
Now, 10 years back, all these things, even if they were happening, you would not be aware. Probably the only information you would have was by reading it in Times of India, right?
Yeah.
So now information available, I think you should spend a lot of time on how great projects are happening across the world.
Okay.
And in extreme conditions, what is also known as extreme engineering.
Okay. So and that is because of the help of technology.
That is that is information available.
Okay.
Now the next thing is, how do you adapt it in with reference to your project?
Okay.
Yeah. So these are case studies, and when you talk to your teams about it, they also get super motivated. You got to share this information with them, because it's 90% possible that these guys are not aware of it, right?
Yeah.
That how did this project come, and how was the execution so flawless? Can you imagine the whole Burj Khalifa coming with zero accident?
Yeah.
The entire project coming up with zero casualty, which is a great thing, right? Not a single life lost. So if you look at the making of some great bridges, the Hoover Dam, for example, in Vegas, that dam came up with 100 casualties.
Oh.
So that was then.
Yeah.
And this is now.
Okay.
So this is something which will inspire your team as well.
Okay.
To set up their own benchmarks and to do some great things. And this is because of the information available. Yeah. B, the technologies which are coming up are such that a friend of mine was sharing with me that Tata Steel, for example, is coming out with technologies where you will end up using 60% of the steel that you would currently use. Okay. And they will be setting up an advisory committee for builders. Okay. So if it's let's say 500 tons, which is going up into the execution, you will get the same design and the same quality by using 300. Okay. Similar is the case in concretes. Windows, which are very, very important. The new technologies are coming up with in glass, in paints. This enable you to get a variation of inside-outside temperature by 3 degrees. Oh. So your house inside will be 3% 3 degrees cooler, less than the outside. Yeah. Now, in cities like Mumbai, this is extremely important. Yeah. So, of course, it's not just one aspect. Okay. It is the concrete, it is the steel, it is the paint, it is the windows, it is the blocks, it is a design. But if you can end up doing a project with a 3% inside-outside degrees variation, your home. It's absolutely as good as it can get.
Yeah.
So this is how the business becomes so stimulating and motivating.
Okay.
That can you have these benchmarks? Can you achieve it?
Okay.
So.
And do you think in India these people are focusing on the benchmarks right now?
Of course, a lot of developers. So that is what I meant to say when we started this talk. That the developers, the builders are also doing a great job. Unfortunately, they carry a lot of baggage because of some of the people who were there in the industry before. But I think guys like you should also somewhere on the line be a little appreciative. The media should also print a few good things because it's not good to shoot people all the time.
Oh. So for Bombay, like we've seen, the price hikes is so much. So if somebody wants to invest right now, what are the hot areas in which he should invest? What are the upcoming new areas where new projects have been developed and where he should keep an eye if he wants to invest?
Okay, so again, coming back, it's no more an investment.
Okay.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
You need it. You need to afford it. Also, what's happened is that in the last couple of years, there has been a major shift in the mindset. So, if you look at year 2000, maybe even in the 90s, affluence was connected with where you live.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if you make it in life, the aspiration is that I will be living in Kaffaret, for example, right? Yeah. So, in the 70s, it was Marine Drive. So, this is how times have changed. You will be surprised that, in the suburbs also, there are people who spend 6,000, 8,000 rupees a square feet in interiors, but they don't want to relocate. They are so used to that ecosystem. If it's western suburbs, for example, Borivali, Kandivali, all these places, people are very set in their lives, right? Schools, colleges, entertainment, their social life, their friends. So their ecosystem is great in Kandivali. So if that guy would have really made it big in life, from a 2,000 square feet house, he would go to a 3,000, 4,000 penthouse for that matter. But he will be all set in that area. Okay. Similar is the case with somebody who's living in Matunga. So, you'll see a lot of wealthy folks living in Matunga. But regardless of everything, they would not be really excited to go to Pedder Road or Kaffaret or Walkeshwar. This is where they would like to be. Okay. So, as people progress in life, as they become wealthier and wealthier, most people prefer to be where they are. Okay. And that's actually
like you said, they'll move to a bigger house, but they'll not leave the community.
That is what we're observing. So most people tend to be where they are. Their working life, their schooling, college, social circle is also set. And I don't think they want to go into another area where there's always a sort of apprehension whether they will settle as well in that new. But of course, it's not. I think my thought is about 70 to 80% of the buying patterns. It's not 100%. Okay. So there are still people who will move to Worli or Lower Parel. So Worli is obviously one of the most favored destinations of the city. Worli is just in that area. So that will obviously stay as a top benchmark, Altamont Road. Right. Yeah. But you see that a lot of people who are going to Altamont Road may be going there because earlier they were staying in Walkeshwar, for example. Okay. Yeah. But you will not see somebody going from Jew scheme suddenly to Altamont Road or Worli Seaface.
Okay.
So whichever area they are used to, their preference is staying in and around that.
Okay.
And then there is this 20% who would like to go to the larger formats,
Okay.
because the smaller ones don't have the kind of amenities that the next generation will want to have, like a pool and a mini golf and an amphitheater,
the playing zone,
and squash court and tennis court, and so that obviously will be always something that the next generation will want in their wish list, and that's how it is.
Let's say that if somebody my age who wants to become a developer, he wants to start on his own and he has no idea how the industry works and what are the things happening, so what would your advice, what would you advise him to be? How should he take his first steps in this industry?
So if you're really serious
Yeah.
about taking real estate as a career, I think it's very important that you get 100% exposure. This is a little different as an industry because of the engagement, the involvement is very, very multifaceted, right?
Yes,
so you have the regulatories, you have the regulator, you have the corporation, which is fundamentally the lessor of most of the land in Mumbai, and you are doing a redevelopment on the land which is owned by them. Then there are architects, structural engineers, contractors, subcontractors. So identifying the right partner, finances. The best way is to work with a real estate company for 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years. Okay.
Get an exposure to all of this.
Okay.
Don't be in a hurry. Real estate is here to stay. As long as human beings are on the planet, the industry is going to be there.
Okay.
So don't have the FOMO working on your mind.
Okay.
I think it's very important that you have a solid foundation, and a solid foundation can come only out of working for an organization which is into real estate.
Okay.
Learning the multidisciplinary forces that come into play, and then get on to it. Okay. In whatever capacity you want, but understand the dynamics of the business first.
Okay. So my final 2 questions. What is the worst business advice you've ever received?
I think all of us receive a lot of advice, right? Sometimes it's extremely important and relevant, and sometimes it is quite baseless in its own way. So I remember 3-4 years back, somebody said that, how is it that at this age you are starting 2.0 of your career? Okay. So this is not the age in that sense. And I found it to be very, very relevant because people are on the go at age 70, 80, 90 in life, right? Yeah. You see people all across the world. They're extremely excited, stimulated. So sometimes when I think back, because this came from a very dear friend of mine, so I think back in time and I think that no, that's not the way to approach life. Okay.
Now, what's the best business advice you've ever received?
It's a good one. So this has not come directly to me, but a lot of good advice I've also received along the way, right? So I think I owe a lot to people who have been advising me on the positive note throughout. I owe a lot to them. But I recently saw an interview, I think 2 days back, of Jensen Huang, NVIDIA, and he said that there's nothing as a great day in life, right? Every day cannot be a great day. So this is a myth. Okay. You get up in the morning, you're going to have your own fair share of adversities, problems, and there's nothing like a every day is a great day,
Okay.
and there's nothing like uh, this is the best job that I have. What is actually true is that this job makes me stimulated, makes me positive, and is something to look forward to.
Okay.
And you got to take it in that spirit, because every day you are going to have, it's not that you're not going to have your own pitfalls,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
it's going to happen. It's part of the journey. So it's not just a simple beautiful trek in the mountains. Yeah, so there are going to be hassles, there are going to be
Pitfall.
roadblocks, but you got to keep your end goal in place, your final milestone, as you say.
Yeah.
And that I think that's the way you got to approach, rather than mixing it up. Be clear about it.
Okay. Thank you again
It
so
was my
much.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for coming to the podcast and sharing your insights. It really means a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
having me.